Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We have here with us today someone extremely wonderful and special, near and dear to my heart. I will let her do the introductions for herself, but you are in to have a wonderful conversation and enjoy what she has to say. I'll, with much further ado, give it to Krissy. Hi,
Hi,
Krissy.
hi, Maryam. Thank you so much for having me. This is a really exciting thing to get to discuss and talk and connect. And so I really appreciate you having me on.
Of
Uh,
course.
so I am Krissy and I am a channeler.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so it's been quite an interesting ride in the awakening journey
Yeah,
as we
tell us
all
tell us
have.
how it all began for you.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
As with so many people, we're born awake. Everybody's born to some degree awake, and it's whether or not you foster those gifts and learn how to use them as a child that you keep them. Sometimes parents are more supportive, sometimes parents have no idea. So I was in this cusp of uh, having one foot on the other side all the time, but having no idea what was happening, right? So uh, I didn't know that I was connecting to spirit. I didn't know that the beings in my room were, spirit guides, and I that they weren't necessarily nightmares, but just astral projection, right? So I spent my entire life in this state of fear of what was happening to me,
Nice.
and it was about a little over a year that I realized that I was communicating with beings on the other side of the veil, right? And outside of this dimension, outside of physicality. And it was quite beautiful, right? When you finally realize what's happening to you, and it answers so many questions. But I had to have all of that experience in order to appreciate what I have access to now. So it ended up being a fast and furious year since then. So I went from having no clue what was happening to me to
Mhm.
realizing that I was speaking to spirit. And then from there, I kind of snowballed into what kind of classes can I take? How do I work with this? What am I supposed to do? And at that point, I didn't really have it didn't feel like I had a strong connection. I felt like I was getting so much information, or I didn't really know. It was very disorienting. And
Did you share this with anybody, or did you just sort of came to this realization on your own and figured, okay, let me just figure this out?
yeah, luckily I had my mom, right? I had my mom to kind of say things to, because it was my grandma who came to me first, right? And I had that connection, and she said, just, it was like give her a hug. And so I gave
Oh.
my mom a hug for my grandma, and it was beautiful. And my mom had been going through this awakening for herself as well,
Oh,
right? So it
wow.
kind of brought us much closer together. And by being able to talk about this thing that, people like, are people going to think we're, off our rockers? And being able to share that that both that fear and that realizing it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks, because like we are existing in the same reality, right? Me and my mother, we were experiencing the same things. We were um feeling that same energy. So to have someone else validate that experience is also really helpful in
Mhm.
this journey. So I would really appreciate you bringing up that point of, did you have anyone to discuss it with? Because it can be isolating if you go through
Yeah.
it on your own.
Yeah,
And
because I remember I always had this interest. I mean, my awakening was different, but you know, I did fun little things under the guise of I'm just interested in fantasy and magic and things like that. And really deep down, just having some senses, but I never could actually recognize that that was happening until I found my Hogwarts and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm picking things up.
Yeah, yeah.
And be able to like share with other people who have all kinds of experiences. And you're like, oh, finally a group that I can just let loose with.
Exactly. Yeah, it is so important to find community and find that connection because you can get so many answers for your own journey on what has happened to you and validation for that because it is an interesting experience being a human being, right? Because we are trained and programmed to only accept that which we can see and feel and touch and taste and
Yeah.
experience with our five senses. So then when you layer in that sixth sense, it's can be disorienting if you don't have somebody else who is there to guide you. So it's really helpful to have my mom there to talk about it.
Hmm.
And then I was able to find classes just like you did to connect with people who experienced it as well. So, I took shamanism, Reiki, I trained in transference healing, medical intuition, a gamut of different classes because I was like, what is this? This is so interesting. I got into psychic reading then from there, where I met a really great people, took a bunch of classes, found mentors. I really just it blossomed through reaching out and finding community, right? Because had I been doing it on my own, I never would have I probably would still be puttering around, right? And just thinking, what's happening to me? What am I supposed to do? And probably living in fear too, because when you start getting these messages and you start getting these, especially for the collective,
Yeah.
right? You start getting these things and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like this feels so heavy. This feels important. I feel like I should tell somebody. But, you know, so having that grounding having other humans and people, physical beings to help you ground, having connection to the earth, focusing on that idea of us being a spiritual being, having a physical experience is so important because it really
Mm.
helps you to it helped me to navigate this like strange transitional time of like what am I supposed to do? Where am I going? What's happening in my life? Like so that was yeah, that was something that I think everybody really needs to have
Yeah.
in this is that support system because as unconditionally loved as we all are from the other side, we still have to have that feeling here too somehow.
True. We are having a human experience. So it's, I sometimes, remind people around me who are open to this kind of world, because we tend to be rather harsh on ourselves and judgmental about all things ourselves. And I have to just, remind them like it's okay to have the feelings you're having, validate your feelings, just don't get stuck to it, let them just pass through you. We're not here to always experience the highs. It's the whole point of having this school of earth because the lows are also something that we need to experience to be able to appreciate what's in it for us and move on from there. I found myself, you know, earlier on to be so hard on myself and always judge like, "Oh, I must be this, I must be like wrong, I must be stupid, I must be like, just all kinds of things that you say to yourself. And then you realize, I'm just having feelings about something.
Yeah,
It's
it's true. Was there
okay.
something in particular that like triggered that kind of realization for you? How did that work for you?
I think, just like you, having the community that I had and you feel safe enough to share certain things, you're guided. My mentor is the one who mentioned like, so what did you think you were going to experience on this plane? Because emotions are what we are here to go through. This is part of being human. We have egos as part of that wonderful garment that we have as humans. And, you know, all of this is part of that. And that is okay because it is what you're here to experience. Just he's the one who encouraged going through the feelings, but just said, just remember that you don't have to hang on to it. If it doesn't feel good to you, acknowledge it and then let it go. It was so helpful because I had not looked at it in that way.
Yeah, that is a really great point to hold on to and to
Yeah,
remember when we're in it, when we're in the thick of it, because we're always going through, like you said, we're always going through something with the um, embodying that duality of how do we find balance between the ups and the downs, the dark and the light, and all of these emotions. So yeah, that's a really great thing for all of us to keep in mind because we all go through dark nights, right? We all go
absolutely.
through great
Absolutely.
times too. So that's I
Yeah,
love that. Thank you.
sure. So, of all the modalities that you are versed in, which one did you feel you were most connected with, or is it more than one?
It's, you know what? It is more than one and all at once, if that makes sense, right? So the way it kind of worked out was that I ended up realizing and being told by an incredible reader, his name's Marco, and he's like, you're a channeler, right? And I was like, what does that mean? It didn't really register what was happening to me. And he like told me, gave me a book to read, and he's like, here, you know, don't do anything until you finish this book, like page one to the end. I was like, okay, great. And it changed my life, right?
Wow.
I opened up to channel. I was a conduit for spirit to speak through. And so with that, it enables me to do healings, meditations, channeled readings for people, channelings for the collective. It's really changed everything for me, right? Because it's a way for me to bridge something for everyone, for myself, for my family, for friends, for, people who I come across someone who just needs answers on something. And I'm able to bring through with my physical being, my vessel, I'm able to bring some clarity and help and guidance to them through channeling their guides and higher dimensional beings to shed light on their situation and to give higher perspectives. And the interesting part is that when you are channeling, you're sharing energy, right, with the person that you're channeling for. And it helps to heal and rewire and create quantum shifts within them to enable them to truly believe in something, to believe that this is possible, that this is the path, that this is the way, and it rewires their subconscious brain patterning as we're doing it. So it's a really therapeutic way of doing a reading, which, going into it, I had no clue, right? And it's only with hindsight and like some like, they knock on my head, they're like, you getting it yet? Um,
So it's
and
therapeutic for you as well, right?
it is, yeah, it is very elevating every time it happens. Um,
Do you, when you're, sorry to jump in, when you're, let's say, doing healings and things like that, when you have to just really channel the energy, do you find yourself getting tired afterwards, or does it invigorate you? How does that work with your vessel, I should say?
Absolutely. It is very re-energizing for me. So I could channel for 12 hours a day and function, you know. After that though, right? So then if I don't continue or do like a gradual taper, after having been in the energy for that long, I will end up having a crash, right? A day or two later. So the best thing that I've found is that when I'm in the energy, I'm fine with it. I can hold it the whole time. but I have to support myself after. So that's, taking a salt bath, that's doing an energy healing on myself so that it's not so much my body holding them, it's me receiving support for the upgrades that happened. Because when you think about it, you're channeling, everybody is a channel, right? I'm not special. Everybody is a channeler. Everybody can hold the energy. Everybody has healing energy flowing through them from source. We all have it. It's just a matter of how much we are willing and like want to hold within us, right? Because you can do all of these things. You can channel up here, like keep it in your crown chakra. I pull it in through my zeal chakra. So I'm pulling the energy in to access my entire vessel. So they move the hands, they have control of everything really when I'm doing it. Um, so it's a matter of figuring out how deep you want to go into it. But as you are channeling, you are raising your vibration, you are raising and elevating your consciousness and your physical, because the ascension process is a physical process as well. You have
Yes.
to you're clearing distortions within your DNA, you're clearing um, and activating new DNA within your body and etheric DNA, changing your spiritual and your causal bodies. Like there's so many shifts that are happening as we're in this channeling state, whether it's receiving energy healing from somebody, sitting in somebody else's energy can also be as equally invigorating and healing and activating for us. We've all been there when we've like listen to somebody chant. I mean, if you listen to Bashar channel, you just kind of
Yes.
like you like zone out because you're in
Yeah.
this state of elevated consciousness that is altering all of you.
So it's not just, okay, I'm so glad you said that because I have yet to be able to sit through a complete channeling of for sure.
It is
I'm
so
like
normal. That is
out.
normal. Oh, that is normal because what's happening is they're literally elevating you up into that dimension consciously. And so it's so normal to like phase in and out. I did a training for transference healing and Alexis Cartwright is, channeling, and she's like, it's okay, everybody. If you get a little sleepy, just watch the replay, because she's
Oh my
pulling
gosh.
beautiful energy that is rewriting who you are as a human being, right? Who you are as a soul. It is just rewriting everything and restructuring. And so there's a lot of work happening that's one of the reasons why we kind of conk out when
Seriously.
someone's
This is
channeling.
it's so funny you say that because I have like a little book group that, we do all kinds of sort of spiritually bent type subjects. And when I started, somebody invited me into this group, one of my meditation friends, and she's like, and whenever she suggests something, it's kind of like her way of, she goes by guidance. She's totally connected, and she's like, I think you would enjoy the material we're going to be covering. So there I was, like a geek, got the book and all that stuff. And we were supposed to watch this little 20 minutes only video of this lady channeling a collective called Raw. And I had never heard of them at that time. So I'm like, okay, great. Um, Krissy, it took me, I don't know how many times. Minute 11, I would
Wow.
just pass out. And and this had never happened to me. So like literally it took me like, I don't know, like 8 tries or something to just be able to get through this 20-minute video. And I'm like, what in the world? It's not even boring material. I'm really enjoying this. This is exactly what I'm interested in, all things channeling related. So we met up in the group and I was explaining, I'm like, for God's sakes, I could not get through this video. I don't know what's wrong. And the lady who was facilitating, oh my God, she was like, you're opening up to new energies. And when it's so high, this is what happens. I would have never known if she hadn't said that. I'm like, seriously? And my friend who had invited me into the group, she's like, actually, this kind of happened to me too. And I had always thought she was like so farther ahead in her journey. Like, really? So it's become sort of a joke now between all of us, like, okay, who could stay awake, with this stuff?
Yeah. Exactly. It's so true. And you know what the interesting part is, it doesn't really matter how far along you are on your journey because each time you do it, like you can watch the same video, but in 2 years, if you watch it again, you might be receiving different activations from the
Mhm.
light code that's coming through that you may experience the same, if not more amplified, like drowsiness, right? Because it doesn't stop activating. It layers on top of each other. They all layer, and each time you're going through this, like it's never there's no end point, right? There's no end point for spiritual growth and transcendence. It's you're continually just elevating. So you're going to activate new parts, new depths within your soul, new things to clear out. So it will always happen to some degree for everyone, right? It might not be like the first time you do it and you pass out and then you realize what's happening the next time and you're like, all right, let me navigate it a little differently this time in my life. But it's totally normal and um it isn't something that people talk enough about, right? It's because you don't really realize or the physical sensations that sometimes you get when certain people are speaking because they're channeling, right?
Mm.
Sometimes people talk and my face will go numb and I'm like, "Oh, wow." Like what are you putting into my body? Energy. Or there's different things that get activated. So yeah, it's cool. It is an interesting thing.
It's
But
very
yeah,
interesting. So you and I, just for the audience to know, you and I met at a retreat that
yes.
was, let's say, extra dimensionally oriented. And it was my very first one. And I remember when you guys were sitting, the panel, each was channeling their own thing. Oh my God. I was like trying very hard to stay in my body because I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. But I remember a few times going like, just
Yeah. Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
There was
It
just so much energy in that room.
it was with four channelers up on a panel, like pulling all of that in. Yeah, it was a lot, and but the beautiful thing about it is that you hear it and it activates within you, and even if you fall asleep there is part of your subconscious that it is written into. So you might be going down the street a year later and be like, why, something can just trigger a memory that you might not necessarily recall in your human state, but because you have opened up extra dimensionally to all that is and all that you are connected to, you can pull that information in as needed. And that's the beautiful thing about it is that we are all connected to all of this energy. We all can do it. It's all right there for all of us. And so it makes me excited to see people realizing it and connecting to it and embracing it, right? It is interesting. But that was a very fun, that was also my first retreat, I have to admit. It's
Well, you
also
look
my
like you've been doing this forever. Like,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really great time and such an amazing experience to get to channel with such talented people and to be there with such incredible but with you and so many incredible people really opening up to it. So it was a
yeah,
lot
it
of
was it was amazing. Thank you
yeah.
for what you did there. I mean, it was just amazing. Your energy just spoke loud and clear as soon as
Thank,
you walked in the room. So, just like, yes, I can't wait for her.
thank
So I
you.
wanted to ask about um, along the lines of you taking care of yourself, you take the salt baths, you let your body just, get supported and all that. What about nutrition and the diet? That is there anything specific that
Sure.
you?
There's definitely through this whole process, I stopped drinking alcohol because that was really something that for me personally, I it didn't work well for me, right? As as a human before I woke up, it wasn't good. And definitely in a state of elevation and pulling in higher vibrational energy, my body can't handle the detox of it, right?
Uh-huh.
It's because back to the idea of like pulling that energy in, it's like a sonicare for your body,
Right,
right?
right,
For
right.
every cell within your system is like getting vibrated and like all of the debris is being extracted as you're channeling the energy. So it's really hard to hold garbage in you, right? And it's hard to hold processed food, um, anything that is, junk food,
Mhm.
typical American diet is really taxing.
Mhm.
So I try to eat a somewhat clean diet. I'm not strict with it because I am still human. I do eat meat because my physical body needs the
I
protein.
was going to ask.
Yeah, I can't regenerate the energy that I expend when I'm channeling is
Mhm.
so high that I need to support my system with that diet. There are people who thrive on a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, and it's a matter of figuring out and finding what works for you. I don't enjoy eating it, right? It's not something that necessarily makes me feel great, but I thank my food and I try to honor it in the best way that I can. Try to buy better quality where
Yeah.
they have been treated fairly. So I do think that we are what we eat, and when we can honor the food, it brings our body a little bit more peace.
Yeah, it's very important to actually point out that, a lot of people think when they are in this space that they have to be vegetarians, they have to be vegans and all that. And I have, in my experience with different groups, have come to see a lot of judgment. It may
Mhm.
not have been intentional, but you can sense that, like people aren't okay if you have meat and all that. And I've come to see that it's true for some bodies act differently. For example, I have a friend who does very specific kind of energy healing, and whenever she offers it, she specifically says, you need to have protein today in whatever form you can, allow your body because that's just what it is. It needs to regenerate, and protein is what will do it for it, which was very interesting to me. I had not thought about that. And I realized, a couple of times over the years when she's worked on me, um, well, I wasn't eating any meat and I'm like, no, no want to, whatever. And I realized the next time I actually listened to her, like you said, like blessing my food and thanking it. And when I did that, all of a sudden, like it immediately made me like recharge.
Yeah, it is. We still need to replenish our nutrients. We all would love to live off of light, but we're not there.
Not quite.
We are dense physical beings, right? That
Yes.
need sustenance and need and yes, some people can get the protein that they need in sufficient amounts. Some humans do not need as much as others. And you know, everyone has to just listen to their body
Yeah.
and rather than being swayed into something through other people's judgment or through what they feel is best for them. You have to feel within your body what is best for your physical being, right? And that's super important. Um, and then, on top of that, another thing of taking care of the physical being, right, is that I exercise regularly.
Mhm.
Something for me, is physical weightlifting and mobility. It's been so important to make sure that I am physically strong because at the end of the day, I want a long life, right? I want to be here to see my kids grow up and see have grandkids and all of these things because at the end of the day, we are here having that physical experience, and the most spiritual thing you can do is to take care of your body so that
That's
you can
true.
extend that experience, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I know some people are like, ah, get me out of here. And sometimes I feel that too. Sometimes I feel that too. But while I'm here, I want to make it the best that I can. And so taking care of myself with either going on walks, doing high compound weightlifting and things to just keep my body in physical shape so that I can hold massive amounts of energy. I attribute some of my capability of doing that to being physically fit
Mm.
because I don't know that I would be able to. Yeah, they're like, you would have been fine. Like it would have been fine. But like it makes me
But
feel
it's
better.
better if you're like, if you feel fit and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Because guess what? When you're channeling and you're doing the spiritual stuff, a lot of the time you're just sitting down. So I spend a lot of time sitting on my butt doing this stuff. And so it's nice to be able to, make sure that I'm getting in the physical activity. Um, so between taking those herbal baths with like the Dead Sea salt and making sure that, I'm doing whatever I can to help my system detox naturally, um, putting good food in, it's just a matter of taking care of the vessel, right? That's it.
True.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. I mean,
just,
we all agreed to come here for a purpose, so you might as well keep yourself fit. You right?
yeah, yeah, and just to feel good because it's so much easier to do all of these things. It's easier to um, weather the storm when
Mhm.
we feel good. And
Yeah,
as we all know, disease is the start of everything, right? So
true.
if you take care of your physical,
Mhm.
right? And that opens you up to being able to deal with healing the emotional and mental a little bit more easily. And then you help to prevent disease from happening within your system because
Mhm.
it all stems from that, you know, discomfort in your emotional state. And
Yeah.
so it's there's there's always work to be done on yourself and there's always something to be done, but just, it's
Yeah,
finding the balance of it all.
true. So I wanted to ask a question, and hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I have been fortunate enough to be at the receiving end of both your healing as well as the reading. I wanted to ask whether you would be willing to do a little channeling collective, for the collective now.
Right now. You got it. You got it.
Or,
Do you,
whenever you feel
yeah.
ready, but
Yeah. Should we jump right into something quick? You want to do something?
sure, I'll
You,
leave it up to you, whichever
all right.
way
They're
works
like,
for
it's not
you.
up to you, it's up to us. We like, all right. All right. So we're gonna bring through who we bring through. Who's coming in today? Let's do the little Rolodex. Who's got the best message to come in? All right. Thank you so much for your invitation for us to speak. We are the Angelic Council. It is so important at this stage in your collective's history to remember the importance of embodying compassion. Every day, there is a greater elevation of frustration, hate, pain, anger, fear. It feels as if everything is falling apart before your eyes, and there is a grasping that is occurring to hold on to power, to hold on to the seat of the throne. Now is the most important time for you to go within, to remember to operate from the seat of compassion and understanding. When you are navigating your life, viewing others as experiencing so much pain that they exhibit hate and fear can help you in recognizing and opening to being non-judgmental. For many humans, the information that is coming out is quite jarring, and it will continue to be painful to hear and listen, because the fact of the matter is, much that you hear is not the full story. The depths of the darkness reach much further, reach much deeper, are much more insidious. However, these truths will not come out in full due to the fact that it will shatter many of those who have not experienced the awakening, who have not already recognized the fact that these instances are occurring. We implore you to be kind to those whose lives are being shattered by the truths that are being exposed. Kindness does not mean acceptance or approval. It simply means being open, seeing their experience as what their soul needed. Many of your parents, friends, coworkers who have not opened to their spirituality will begin questioning life. By reaching to them with kind words of compassion, simply checking on them. How are you today? Asking something personal can be the lifeline that somebody needs. Remember that in this timeline, the light has won. In this timeline, everything falls into place beautifully. You are all simply just following the steps for it to work out. Remember to have compassion for yourself. Remember to remind yourself that you are surrounded by love and light. And remember, you are the creator of your life, and you choose to make sure that it works out beautifully.
Wow. Thank you so much. Do you remember when you channel, do you remember the messages or?
I do, yes, I do. I am a conscious channeler, so I am basically in the front seat with them. They like kind of reach in and they're driving the steering wheel from behind, and I'm there. So for the most part, I remember things. As time goes on, it slips away. But yeah, so it is a trip.
Beautiful message. I loved hearing in this timeline the light has won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's nice because, there's that grasp at straws to, the last table flip, the
Exactly.
last attempt to take control, keep status quo, we'll say.
That's right. And let's
It's
face it, it doesn't feel like it some days, so it's
yeah.
good to hear that. It's
Yeah.
reassuring.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it is a play, and you have to get from point A to point B somehow, and it doesn't just like it's not like okay, end scene, and then like it fades to black, and then we all like wake up and it's good. We got to work through it. We have to take the steps to get to that point where there's a transition. Um, so the world is shifting, the world is changing, and it's
It
a
is.
beautiful thing that the way it will happen, and the way we will there will be hiccups, there will be tower moments, but there will be beauty at the end of it.
I have hope. I
Yeah,
definitely have hope. I
yeah,
keep envisioning what I'd like to see.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
our role to anchor heaven on earth here, and we do that through being open to the spirituality, right? And to anchoring in this energy of change, and that we can create what we want to see in the world, and that's a
Exactly.
matter of shifting. Uh, we'll call it millennia of one regime, and now it's a shift into the next stage.
Exactly. 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 So, tell us about what's in store for you in the next, what are some events you might have, stuff that you plan on doing?
For sure. So I have a few events coming up. I also have I'll list those out in a second, but I have a really exciting product launch that I'm doing in the next couple of weeks. It's called the Healer Box. And so
Oh my
we
God.
have a little box. There's multiple ones. There's also going to be a subscription portion of it. So you have your little box with your card. You get your bath salts, your organized crystals, all the fun stuff in there.
I want one of these. How
Oh,
much
you'll
is
get one.
this?
And then there'll be a subscription portion for monthly. So there'll be an option for a small box as well as a larger box that will have things like they'll have different kits with inside, like a gridding kit or something to help with the energies, the shifts that are happening astrologically.
Amazing.
There'll be all different
Oh,
types of fun little energetic tools within it that you'll get delivered monthly, along with meditations and activations. There'll be a group healing that you'll also have access to that will be live and recorded for people to access throughout the month. So it's a really
amazing.
fun product. Really excited for it. So the first select delivery will be in November. It'll be a small drop, and then it'll expand in December. So I'm very excited for that.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you, thank you.
wonderful.
And then I have a few other events coming up. And if you're in Connecticut, I'll be channeling Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're demonologists and paranormal investigators.
Oh my goodness.
That's a for spooky season on
So fun.
October 20th. That's in Connecticut. It'll be a workshop where we'll help people to access their own spiritual senses with when they're investigating. I have an online activation summit that is also in October, October 19th. And then the first weekend in November, I'll be doing an online healing with Jai Brady, and I have another launch the next day in Connecticut where I'll have these little bad boys that I'll be selling in person. No readings there, but it'll be a lot of fun. And
That's
then,
amazing.
yeah, throughout the months, I do donation-based classes. And so I post those on my Instagram when I'm doing them. And then the most exciting thing is I'm going to Sedona for the first time. I'm really excited for that. That's going to be in January, the beginning of
Ah,
January, the 3rd through 5th for the channel panel. So I'll be doing readings
beautiful.
there um, outside in the when everyone's in between the channelings. So I'm
It's
super
so
excited.
beautiful, Sedona. It's so beautiful.
Oh,
So
that's
tell everybody how to find you. You mentioned Instagram.
yep.
Of course, we're going to put all the links under
Perfect.
this once the video goes up. But in the meantime, how
For
can people
sure.
find you?
I am on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at enlightened.channels. And my website's enlightenedchannels.com, and thehealerbox.com will be launching in the next 2 weeks.
Yay, that is so exciting. Yeah, we'll make sure that we put all of this in there and just wishing you the best of luck in your upcoming events. My God,
Thank
I
you
want
so
to be in Connecticut for that thing, for
it's
that
gonna be
workshop.
wild. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm super excited. I don't like scary things, so they're like, "You got into the wrong business, lady." I'm like, oh, okay. Whoops, I didn't know I signed up for this.
That is so, I'd never heard the demonology before. I didn't know it was a thing.
Yep, it's the thing. It is it's very exciting. And the interesting thing is the difference in transition between like, when we were a physical being and you're experiencing these things and Lorraine was a psychic medium and Ed was very connected as well and could really he did a great job at kind of containing negative energies. Uh and so, they have a slightly different perspective, from the other side of the veil. Like we all elevate and change and shift our points of view at a certain point when we step over. So it's going to be a very cool transition
Wow,
and
fascinating.
download of information. Yeah, super excited for it. It'll
That
be fun.
is wonderful. Well, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Miriam.
being here and sharing your beautiful energy with us. Wishing you the best of luck in all things to come.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You too. I can't wait to see you again.
Likewise.